Now, I've got in the studio with me right now our state member, the Honourable Darren Grimwade. Good morning, Darren.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, it's always good to hear from you, and thanks very much for taking your time out of your day. I know you're only in here because of the air conditioning.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that. It's walking in today, it was quite hot, and they're saying, 29 degrees now at this time of the morning, and hit, record about 33 or 34 degrees
they say.
Later on, yeah. So anyway, look, let's just sit here for a while and have a chat while we've got a chance, I'd say.
We will. All right, Darren, some of the wonderful things that you're going to talk to us today, what are these about?
Yeah, look, one of the things I wanted to speak about at first is that we've got this Kids in Care program going on at the moment. My office has actually become a collection point for the Kids in Care program, and it's about people dropping in toys and presents, if you like, for the Christmas appeal for the obviously kids that are in care, as the name says. So my office is actually partaking in that at the moment. We've actually got a huge collection there. If people come past my office, they can see on the front door.
Lovely.
And it's sort of getting bigger and bigger as we go. So if anyone out there's got any toys or gifts or anything like that, they want to drop into my office on Morayfield Road, I'd be more than happy to accept them and give them out for the Kids in Care program throughout Christmas.
Now, Darren, they're not to be wrapped, are they?
They prefer them to be unwrapped and in a bag if they can, like a gift bag or something.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Because obviously, when things are wrapped, we don't know what's in them.
No,
so,
you need to check.
If they can bring them unwrapped, that'll be great.
Or put them in a beautiful bag, because you can pick those up, can't you?
That's right,
Lovely.
That'll be ideal. So it's a good little program, that one, and something that I know that a lot of the community groups are also getting on board with me, and they also know that when kids are in care, it's a tough time of year. They're often in an environment they're not used to and away from home, and to bring a bit of cheer to their face and a bit of a smile through something that we can contribute to, I think is a bit of an added bonus in the community.
Everybody gets a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, just on that, do we have any idea of general ages? Because I know when kids get to 14 and 15, they still can be in care, but you need something different to. It's very easy to buy for little people, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
So
that's probably a good question. Most people will talk about buying presents and these sort of things. They're buying for newborns up till 10 years old, so to speak. So it's probably a good question. As far as I'm aware, the whole program goes right through to all those kids that are in care. So we can have older kids' presents as well as younger kids' presents. But obviously, as the kids get older,
they're wanting different things.
Yeah, they're wanting different things in life, and Christmas, as opposed to Santa, I suppose, comes a little bit different meaning to some kids, the ones that are younger.
So, what would you suggest, Darren, for the older kids? As I said, little kids you can buy anything for. It's easy.
Well, I guess the older kids, anything when you're a teenager, and I'm trying to speak from experience of myself, what I buy teenagers and those sorts of things, and they're looking for little things like gift packs of even deodorant or things like that for boys, for example.
iTunes, would you buy them an iTunes card?
Yeah, you could buy iTunes cards. I don't know whether people that are in care would have facilities to be using iTunes and that, but things like that. A lot of the kids when they get to 13 to 14 to 15 and become teenagers, they want expensive things like iPods, and obviously people aren't going to buy expensive presents like that.
No.
But look, even little gifts like maybe for teenage boys might be deodorant packs or something like that. You can get from a chemist and what have you, or small game consoles or something like that. But look, we're happy to accept anything at the moment, and I know that these kids will be graceful, taking anything they can get. So.
My only worry is that you'll end up with hundreds of things for the younger generation, and then for that group of kids that are harder to buy for, you may sort of end up with not so much. And that's an age where you can start to feel very isolated, can't you?
Yeah, you can. The program runs from those that are 0 to 17, so anyone a kid. Majority of the kids, would be targeted to that lower age group anyway.
All right.
There's about 8,000, just to give the listeners a bit of an idea of what we're talking about here. So when I say we've got a magnitude of toys, i.e. a big box full, there's actually about 8,000 kids in care at the moment.
In our area?
No, in Queensland.
Oh, thank God.
So this program the toys don't necessarily just go to every kid in our electorate. It's a statewide program run by the Department of Communities. We're jumping on board to do our bit for our local area. and obviously, you know, we've got to try to accommodate 8,000 kids. So that there is a large sort of scale when it comes to getting the toys out and getting the kids out, and you know, doing that between now and when the big red man and his big suit and the big beard comes. So it's be a bit of a rush. But look, we're going to get there, and we'll make sure that every kid gets a toy, and we'll try to bring some cheer to their faces over Christmas.
We'll
for
hope
sure.
so. All right, Darren, beg your pardon. Enough of that at the moment. Let's come on to some of the other issues that we have.
Yeah, look, I was sort of thinking on the way in this morning what I would, you know, talk about and some of the things, and, you know, besides boring your listeners to death about all the legislation, we actually passed 9 pieces of legislation last week, which, you know, was a big bit, you know, in a whole different areas of planning and reform, and lots of things happen. But I thought I'd just go through a few things. When I'm out and about in the community, one of the biggest questions people ask me, and they stop me at my listening posts and say, is the you know, what have we achieved so far? You know, people are really keen to understand, since the Newman government's been elected, what have we done? You know, they were elected for change. They were elected to change the government. What's actually been achieved? And it was very interesting, because last week I was speaking at the National Seniors Forum here in Caboolture, and I was the guest speaker there, and the topic was, what have you achieved in government? And as I started to pen down some of the things in that very hectic 8 months we've been in government, the list started to grow and grow. And you know, I think it's important for people to understand that there's been a lot of sense of, you know, negativity and things that have been spread across the news, but the things that this government's actually achieved have been quite exciting. You know, setting up the prosperity here in Queensland as the state moves forward. So, you know, some of those, and I'll just share them. I know your listeners have probably heard some of these already, but some might actually be of interest to your listeners and might surprise a few people as well. And you know, one of the biggest things that we campaigned in the campaign on in the last state election was cost of living relief. You know, so to reduce the cost of living for Queenslanders. And you know, we've already enacted all of our election commitments to bring forward that cost of living relief for people. So things like freezing tariff 11 electricity, you know, we've done that for the next year. Freezing motor vehicle registration, we've done that for the next 3 years, or the full term of government. Public transport, we've halved the increase that the last Labor government would have been putting on public transport.
That's
so
right,
we've managed to do that.
Yep.
And also introduced the 9 trips. So once you've gone over 9 trips, you get the 10th one free.
That was a good one.
Yeah, so, you know, that's saving to a loyal commuter, you know, a mum and dad, so to speak, going to and from work Monday to Friday, or a university student to and from work. Saves about $400 a year. So that was sort of a big one. You know, we've reintroduced the stamp duty concession, and when people buy their first home, you know, it saves about $7,000 when a mum and dad or someone buys their first home. We've removed the waste levy, you know, from business that, you know, the previous government put on, so that's now gone. So business people who were paying that waste levy, it's now gone.
Yeah, how much might that have been?
Well, it sort of depends on how much waste you're removing, but the biggest hit on business in that was people that with restaurants and cafes, and people in aged care facilities. Funnily enough, they were the two areas that really got hit, and they're probably the two areas that can least afford at the moment to be paying extra tax. So that's been a bit of a win. We've got the $80 water rebate that'll be going out to all residents in the first quarter of next year. So again, it's an $80 credit off your water bill. And we also increased the payroll tax threshold for business as well, from 1 million to 1.1 million as well. So saving lots of business having to pay tax, which is obviously when they're not paying as much tax, they can employ more people and grow their business.
Especially the smaller businesses.
Yeah, and I guess you can almost, in that cost of living debate, you can almost throw in the get in the game policy that I spoke about last time I was in here, and that's that $150 rebates to mums and dads that are on concession car holders, and, you know, and that can least afford to enrol their children in sport. They can now apply for a $150 grant to enrol their children in sport. So sort of fits that cost of living's you know, category as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of that's already been enacted and done in the last 7 to 8 months, and bringing good cost of living relief obviously throughout our community here, but through Queensland as well. So one of the other things that obviously we've done since we've been in government from March this year and this might surprise a few of your listeners, is we actually have the largest health budget we've ever seen here in Queensland this year. The last budget we delivered a health budget of 11.8 billion, which is an increase of 816 million on the last year. So, contrary to what some might be saying in the community, we actually have a very large health budget, and that's really assisted us here, particularly with our local hospital boards. We've been able to put an extra $8.5 million into the expansion of the Caboolture Hospital Emergency Department. That'll bring benefit. And one of the things that the government's doing is the 40,000 more outpatient appointments, sort of clearing that waiting list for the waiting list, if you like. So there's been some real wins in health, and although we're not seeing that today, those sort of that sort of money will clear those backlogs, and over the next 12 to 24 months, you'll actually see that some of these things are starting to really have a big benefit on our local area, but all of Queensland as well. And moving through the list, and we've got education that we've invested heavily in as well. I think one of the times I was on here previously, I was talking about the $200 million maintenance backlogs, or advancing our schools. So all our schools here got up to $160,000 each to clear their maintenance backlog. Obviously, some of these schools have very large maintenance backlogs that sort of been neglected over the years. And that's sort of a win for not only the schools and the P&C that are going to administer those, it's also a win for local tradies that will be able to tender for those jobs.
A ripple effect, isn't it?
So that's sort of one part, and we've just announced a whole heap of grants for $5,000 to $10,000 grants to most of the kindergartens in the electorate.
Yes, I've got that written down here. Community grants.
That's it. So getting some kindy grants out there, and I was lucky to go out to some of the kindies and have a look at what they're going to do to use those funds on the resources. So it's sort of staying in, and the Minister's very excited about, the Minister for Education, about Crayon to Career. This is what he calls the new vision for Queensland, and that is the Crayon obviously investing money into kindies. We've invested money into 600 additional prep teacher aides to give those prep students the additional support they need to grow. And then we've also put in $26 million this year for literacy and numeracy from prep to grade 2. So again, investing in those early years to make sure that people are really up to speed with their literacy and numeracy and their learning outcomes. So there's been a fair bit of money contributing to that education of getting that Crayon to Career approach going. And that sort of leads me on to, when we're talking before about the 600 additional prep teachers, this government was sort of talking about revitalising frontline services, and we've done that, people talk about public sector jobs, and I can tell you that with 1,100 new additional police officers coming onto the streets of Queensland, 600 prep teacher aides coming onto in our schools around Queensland,
600 teachers,
600 prep teacher aides.
Wow.
And then we've got a whole host of additional nurses and doctors also being available or becoming available now on weekends and nights and those sorts of things for our hospitals to actually, make sure that when people need a doctor or a nurse, which is normally at night time on the weekend, they're there. So, we're sort of, getting those frontline services really revitalised and putting a lot of resources into those areas. So, and the last one I'll just touch on before I end the little chat on what we've achieved is disabilities, and that's one that that I've been quite passionate on. This year, again, we actually delivered a record disabilities budget in Queensland, $959 million, and also rolled out just recently the Your Life, Your Choice program, which is like a self-directed funding program for disabilities, which is sort of paving the way in Queensland for us to be ready for the rollout of the NDIS when it comes in 2018.
So, 2018
was when the NDS is supposed to roll out. So we've really kicked some goals there too, with major funding boosts for disabilities. So throughout all these sorts of things, I could keep going all day. We've done a number of things around crime as well. Lots of legislation to protect our communities with sex offenders and serious assaults on police officers, and hooning legislation and increased penalties. Increased penalties for those that evade police, and so we've done a lot of things around that, and a lot of things around planning and reform, and making sure that the Coordinator General, who approves all the major projects in Queensland, He's done over 80 projects since we've been elected, which is just massive. It's billions of dollars worth of investment that has now been approved and will come through in the pipeline. And in fact, Campbell Newman he's over in India at the moment, drumming up some more business between the relationship between India and Queensland, and he announced a $10 billion mining contract last night. So again, that'll bring a number of they're predicting around 4,000 new jobs to Queensland. It'll generate lots of on-flow into those areas where the mining activity is happening, and obviously increase the royalty base for Queensland, which would means that we can have more money to put into more services. So some of these things and these planning reforms and these projects that are coming through, we've seen some very exciting signs in tourism after the forum we held in Cairns. Lots of international airlines have increased their flights into the Gold Coast and into Cairns. So we're seeing a lot of exciting things in tourism, obviously in resources with $10 billion investments like we just spoke about a second ago coming to the state. There's a lot of areas like that we spoke about growing a four-pillar economy, and that's starting to happen. We're starting to do that and get these things rolling. And throughout the next 6 to 12 months, obviously, you'll see that some of that benefit will actually start flowing through to our local area and to all of Queensland. So yeah, I mean, it's I could probably talk all day about a number of other things as well.
I'm not going to let you do that.
And I know that, but look, there is a number of exciting things happening in Queensland, and we have achieved a lot as a government in the last eight months. So there's a lot to be excited about for people. There's a lot of things happening, and I think over the next 6 to 12 months, some of those will really start to shine through, and people will see what we've been able to deliver. So I'm looking forward to that, and getting on with it.
Darren, just as a little bit of a side issue, with all the grumblings that we're hearing about going on in the National Liberal Party right now, can we hope that that'll sort of sort itself out in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, and then we'll get back into the real work of Queensland? Well,
look, I think it's an important point to make. The news is sort of showing these stories, and on TV every night, and that's what people see, I guess. But look, I mean, there was a number of MPs from our party that decided that they didn't want to be part of our team last week, and that's well documented. That's their choice, and I think as a party we still have 75 members in the Parliament. I think we are focused. We had some good meetings last week where the team sort of came together. We are delivering, and we're focused on doing that. So we sort of can't let ourselves be distracted by one or two people that want to have a self-indulged cash grab, if you like. Want to use the opportunity to jump ship because they can go get more money with another party. We're not really interested in that. We're sort of focused on delivering what we're doing. We've got our 6-month action plans out now, and we're being held to account with them. We're about to release the next 6-month action plan, which tells people what we're going to do in the next 6 months, and we want people to hold us to account with that. We've ticked off the 100-day plan when we first got elected. We've nearly ticked off everything on the 6-month plan after that, and now the next one comes out. So we sort of can't be sidetracked or distracted from people that want to have a self-interest in a cash grab. And look, the party will move forward. The party's united. I know that. We had some good meetings, as I said, last week. Everyone's behind our leadership team in Campbell, and look, we'll keep going forward and delivering for Queensland. I think that's
what we need to hear. We don't want to hear about all these stupid personality clashes. We want the state to be run.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part. I mean, when you look at what was said last week, you talk about there's not enough interaction with ministers and the Premier, and unfortunately that's rubbish. As a team we meet regularly, we have regular party room meetings. All members of Parliament, including myself, quite regularly pick up the phone and talk to our ministers and our Premier, and Campbell is a great leader in that. He'll always take the time to listen and understand what's happening in our local electorates. And from a leadership team doing that and understanding what's happening here locally, and that, I think that's a really good benefit when they're actually bringing the legislation through. And look, I think we are focused. I think we are delivering, and we'll just keep focused on that path and let everyone else do the commentary on the side.
I was just going to say that's what we want. We want delivery, delivery of promises, and to the state to be governed.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
sure.
Darren, I think we've probably come to about the end of our time. But I want to wish you and your family the loveliest Christmas and a wonderful, successful New Year on behalf of 101.5 FM.
Yeah, no worries, and thank you, and likewise goes to yourself and all the staff here at 101.5 FM, and all your listeners.
Yes,
everyone,
of
I probably
course.
won't be on here before now and Christmas again, so to all the listeners out there, Merry Christmas, and have a happy and safe New Year's, I suppose, and we'll be back in the new year looking to fight the fight and to keep growing this state and delivering and doing what we have to do. Otherwise, if people need me in the meantime, they know where my office is, they know I'm always accessible. Please drop in and say hello.
No, we will look forward to that, and obviously look forward to catching up with you in the new year.
No problem.
So, God bless them.
Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
Enjoy it always. Thanks, Darren.